Hi, my name is Lily and welcome back to my channel. As winter is drawing in, I thought I would give you some recommendations for wintry books to read. There should be something here for everyone. I've got some adult, young adult, some middle grade and also a non-fiction, so hopefully if you read anything there should be something on this list for you. The first book I am recommending is A Boy Called Christmas by Matt Haig. I listened to this whole series via audiobook, so if you love a good audiobook I would recommend that. This first book is the story behind Father Christmas and how he came to be. It tells a story of a little boy called Christmas who his father is sent away for work and he doesn't come back, so he goes looking for him, and in that process he stumbles upon some elves in the North Pole. So that's kind of the story of the book without giving too much away. It's really sweet, really funny, it's a great little middle grade. Matt Haig is perhaps better known for his adult novels and for his non-fiction books, but his middle grades really are the best, and if you want a fun Christmassy book, that is definitely one to read. My next recommendation is Sky Song by Abby Elphinstone. This is another middle grade and it is just lovely. This edition is also really beautiful. It has a fold out map at the front and beautiful sprayed edges, so I really do love this one. I read this a couple of years ago I think, and it is absolutely lovely. It is about Esker and Flint who live in a place called Erkenwald at the top of the world. Erkenwald is ruled by an evil ice queen and all of the different tribes have to hide away from her to avoid being captured. Esker however has been captured and is being kept in an enchanted music box as a ballerina of sorts, but she escapes and she and Flint together have to find this song that will break the spell and remove the Ice Queen's power forever. It is a wonderful adventure story, so sweet and so heartwarming, and it's lovely. Flint is an inventor who uses magic in his works and it is just so lovely. I would highly recommend it. It's not Christmassy but it is very wintry. It's set in the tundra with polar bears and wolves and it's just, I loved it so much. It's such a good little read. My next recommendation kind of hovers between middle grade and young adult, and that is Northchild by Edith Patty. Of course I was going to recommend Northchild. This is perhaps my favourite book of all time. I've just finished a reread when I'm filming this and I loved it again, as I always do. Northchild tells the story of a girl named Rose. She was born into a family whose mother is incredibly superstitious, and she believes that the direction in which you were born is basically dictating the rest of your life. And she is terrified of having a Northborn child because she was told that her Northborn child would die a death crushed under snow and ice. So she has carefully planned it so that she has a child at each point of the compass except north. But then when one of her children dies, she has another one, hoping to replace her Eastborn child. But accidentally she has a Northborn child named Rose, and they hide this from Rose for years. But then one day a polar bear comes knocking at the door and says that if Rose will come away with him and live with him, that he will turn the family's fortunes around, and they are really down on their luck. They are really struggling financially and one of her sisters is very sick, so Rose agrees to go with the polar bear. And that's kind of the story. She ends up living in the castle with the polar bear and there's a lot more that happens. It's not just set in the castle, there's a huge adventure element to this as well. It's just lovely. It's so wintry and like there's a main character as a polar bear, so how can it not be on my winter recs list? It's so good. Moving on to my young adult recommendations, my first one is The Year After You by Nina DePass. I mean, just look how beautiful this cover is. How could you say no to this? This is just as beautiful as the cover would let you believe, but it is incredibly sad, and I think that's a real merit of this book. It tells the story of Clara, I think her name is? Cara. Cara is sent to a boarding school in the Swiss Alps because she has fallen into a deep depression after a big event in her life has happened, and she blames herself for it. I don't know if you know much about the event at the beginning, I can't remember, but so I won't tell you too much, but it's all about friendship and mental health and grieving and learning to move on and to stop blaming yourself for things that were not in your control, and also to forgive yourself for things that were in your control. And it's a really beautiful, lovely book. I really wish more people would read it because it is just so amazing, and it's set in this beautiful backdrop of the Swiss Alps, which is what makes it so wintry and cozy. My next young adult recommendation is Splinters of Scarlet by Emily Bain Murphy. I have been talking about this book a lot lately, and it is because it is one of my favourite underhyped books. This is a young adult novel. It's set in, oh my god, why do I always forget? It's set near Copenhagen, that's it. So it's set near Copenhagen, and it tells the story of Marit. Yes, I remember that one. Marit and Eve. So Marit and Eve both live in this orphanage. Marit ended up there after her sister died because she used too much magic. Because magic, the more you use it, it freezes you from the inside out, essentially. So Eve ends up getting adopted by a woman from an incredibly wealthy family, and Marit is worried about what will happen to her, so she manages to talk her way into getting hired onto the household staff because she also secretly has magic that allows her to sew things back together and to embroider really, really well. And when she's there, she discovers that the whole of the serving staff has magical powers just like her. It's so good. It's really wintry and cozy, and it's also a great mystery book as well. And the fantasy element, I loved it. The magic system was really unique, and I really liked reading about it. Another one I talk about a lot on here, and another young adult, is Wranglestone by Darren Charlton. Wranglestone is a zombie romance set in a wintry backdrop, so it is just awesome. It's so good. It's very gay as well. So Wranglestone is about two teenage boys who live on Lake Wranglestone. Peter was born and raised there, and he has never really felt like he had a place because he's much more of a homemaker. He's good at embroidery and cooking and not so much about defending the islands. And the reason he needs to defend it is because there are zombies out there. During the summer, they are all protected by the lake. They live on little islands in the middle of the lake and the zombies can't cross it. But in the winter, the lake will freeze over and everyone has to work together to defend themselves from the zombies. And he has this huge crush on this boy who also lives in Lake Wranglestone and is like the golden boy of the lake. And basically, Cooper's dad decides that Peter's not doing enough and it's his fault that they nearly get attacked. So he says that Peter has to start pulling his weight, and the rest of the lake agrees. And it's all about what happens when Peter ends up going to the shore and exploring the world and trying to defend the camp. It's really good. It's a great little mystery again, and I really love the wintry theme of it. It was just so good, and the romance was really, really natural. The characters are super likeable. I would highly recommend it. My final wintry recommendation from a young adult one is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This perhaps wasn't the best edition to pick because it's so shiny, but I love this book and I knew I could sneak it on here because a vast proportion of it is set in a really snowy land because they are trying to do a heist in this ice fortress, so it counts, okay? Basically, Six of Crows is the story of the dregs, and the lead dreg, Kaz Brecker, has to bring this team of ruffians together to break someone out of this ice fortress. And the reason they're doing it is because he basically poses a huge threat to the magical community, the Grisha community. And yeah, I don't want to tell you too much because I don't know what spoilers anymore because I've read it too many times. This is part of Leigh Bardugo's Grishaverse, but it is separate to the Shadow and Bone trilogy. There are a few overlapping characters in it, I think, but it can be read totally on its own. I read it before the Shadow and Bone trilogy and found it perfectly fine to follow, so yes, I would say if you haven't read those, don't worry. But yeah, this is so fun, so funny, and the heist is really clever and nothing really goes right and it's great. I have one more recommendation for you, and that is a non-fiction adult book, and it is The Night Shift Before Christmas by Adam Kay. This is the sequel kind of to This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay, which was an award-winning, best-selling non-fiction book. And Adam Kay used to be a junior doctor in the NHS in the UK. And his first book was his diaries, basically, from when he was a junior doctor. And this is a little novella he released about all of his night shifts and shifts he did before and over the Christmas period. And what happened was, Adam Kay is Jewish, and during your junior doctor rotations, every year or so you get moved to a new hospital. And because he was Jewish and he didn't have any children, the hospitals would always put him on the shifts, like the worst Christmas shifts, because basically I have family members in the NHS, and the way it kind of works is people do volunteer for shifts, but they do try and give the worst Christmas shifts to the people who have the least connection to Christmas. So if you don't have any children and you're not celebrating Christmas, or they don't think you would be celebrating Christmas, you're gonna get the bad shifts. And basically he ended up, I think it was like 4 or 5 years in a row, getting really bad Christmas shifts and having to work Christmas Day, because they'd always find out that he was Jewish and childless and assumed that meant that he could work Christmas, and because he was always new to the ward, they wouldn't know that he'd worked Christmas the previous few years. And basically it's all of his hilarious stories of living on the wards, well, not living on the wards, of working on the wards over Christmas. It's a lot more light-hearted than This Is Going to Hurt, because This Is Going to Hurt has a really harrowing ending, because he does explain in that book why he left the profession, and it was really sad and really heartbreaking. This one's definitely a bit more light-hearted. Adam is now a comedian, so if you're wondering what the book is like, it is very, very funny. So yes, this is a really great book, especially if you're not really that big into non-fiction. This is a really great book to get you into it. Okay, so those are all of my wintry recommendations. There were some Christmassy themed ones and some non-Christmas ones, depending on what you like. I really hope there's something on here for everyone. If you're going to pick up any of these books, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear it. But also, please recommend me your favourite wintry themed, especially Christmas themed books, because I definitely need some more for my TBR. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to see more content from me. All of my social media links are down in the description below, so please do check them out. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!